review of the key founding principles in the United States. Introduction. The United States, one of the greatest democracies in the history of humankind, was founded on the principles of popular sovereignty, limited government, liberty, the rule of law, due process, and federalism. These principles are articulated in the founding documents, and every U.S. government and citizen refers to them as the basis for their civil and constitutional rights. Although currently, some of these principles are distorted, the U.S. government still strives to maintain the democratic foundations of our country. Popular sovereignty. The main idea stipulated across all founding documents is popular sovereignty, the idea that the state obtains its power only from the people. James Madison emphasized that government is essential to be derived from the great body of the society, not a small proportion, and not from particular elite groups. The Declaration also emphasizes that the government should acquire its legitimate power from the consent of the governed. Unfortunately, currently, there are mechanisms through which electoral integrity, and hence, the principle of popular sovereignty, is distorted, such as the Electoral College, gerrymandering, foreign hacking, and many more. Nevertheless, the U.S. government still retains this principle since the people directly or indirectly elect all governmental institutions. Anyone who attempts to attain power through elite and financial influence is punished and removed from office. Federalism. The federalism principle means that the government should have federal and national characteristics. In other words, states should have the right to exercise their choices and a particular level of independence from the national government. The findings documents stipulate that in the operation of its power, the government is considered a nation, while it is federal in the extent of its power. Although occasionally federal and state policymakers disagree on some issues, the principle of federalism is still relevant today since all states have their governments and can be independent of the central government to an extent guaranteed by the Constitution. Limited government and checks and balances. The limited government principle means that the government's authority is limited to the rights and powers outlined in the Constitution. This principle is dedicated to preventing the concentration of coercive control and arbitrary use of violence against rights. In addition, there should be constitutional checks and balances of power among different branches of government. Hence, the government is limited by the people, the Constitution, and other government institutions. In Federalist Papers No. 51, James Madison argued that the members of each department should be as least dependent on each other as possible. As such, different governments control and balance each other's exercise of power. Liberty, rule of law, and due process. The U.S. government also guarantees liberty, the rule of law, and due process for each U.S. citizen. The Declaration states, all men are created equal, and they are entitled to inalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. According to the rule of law, all citizens and the government are bound by the Constitution. In addition, the 5th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution note that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty or property, without due process of law. Hence, every person has the right to fair treatment by an impartial judicial system. Conclusion. To conclude, the U.S. founding documents have incorporated several vital principles, including popular sovereignty, limited government, the rule of law, and liberty. These laws were designed to create a fair environment for every citizen to maximize their happiness. The U.S. government and society struggle to maintain these principles due to growing partisanship, populism, and foreign interference. Nevertheless, our government will strive to keep the core principles that the Founding Fathers have established.